What's going on, world? It's your man Pat Caesar LLC, mobile mechanic and roadside services, and I'm actually on the road right now. Well, I'm at somebody's house and I'm working on a 2000, what's this thing, 02 Ford F1 Funky with a 5.6 in it, or sorry, 5.4 in it. And well, this is irrelevant. I'm in my slider right now, one of my sliders. I only think I introduced y'all to this thing, man. I love this little Centech VTEC Honda. But this video quickly is about, is it necessary to use something crazy of a scan tool like this badass Solus snap-on scan tool? Or can you get away with being a good mechanic or a technician by using something like this Harbor Freight joint? We gonna get into it right after the intro. First and foremost, man, thank y'all for checking out the channel. I'm Pat Caesar. Y'all know we talk about business, finance, life, towing, and mechanic services, and a little bit of everything else in between. So if you haven't already, go ahead and sub to the channel, hit that bell notification so you can be updated every time I update a video or upload a video. And yeah, let's begin. So dogs, I don't do dogs. It's my Honda Civic, and all right, so let's just go back up. This thing's for sale, and there was 3 things that was majorly wrong with it when I first got it. All right, so this is a single cam D17A. That means it's from Japan, and it's VTEC solenoid right there. And it is not hooked up because it's running a single cam computer. The swap was done actually pretty professional, I might add, and the guy had stock exhaust on it, stock intake box, and that's why I actually got the car. I can't tell you just how cheap I got it for, just know I got it for the low. So got the car, easy slider, boom boom boom. It needed tires, it needed a bumper, a grill, I think headlights I put on. And so this front end has been redone, tires, and something else. So the 3 main things that was bad: the exhaust manifold that came off here originally had a huge crack right here, which I thought was making this oxygen sensor not read. That was not the case. There's a crack on this windshield that I've still yet to fix. And what was the other thing? I don't remember the other thing, but either way, oh, the gauge cluster. I just put a gauge cluster in here. So I just actually went to the junkyard and got this the other day. Now, if you notice, there's an automatic gauge cluster, but the car is 5-speed. So either way, got me thinking as I'm out here and I'm working on this gentleman's truck. He was telling me it's shutting off and doing all types of stuff. And so before I got any real data from it, the first things that I did, I try to do this when the vehicle is cold, is went and hooked up my scan tool and my fuel pressure gauge. Okay, those are my first go-to things, and I do that because I already know that it's gonna kind of lead me into the direction in which I need to go. Well, it got me thinking. I'm like, you know, I didn't need to borrow my homie's $2,500 computer to do this. I do most of this stuff without it. So I just wanted to go into like 3 pros, 3 cons about having such an expensive computer. And this is very, very unscripted, like most of my videos are. So that's why you're gonna see me going around trying to figure out what exactly I'm trying to articulate at times. But first pro, man, yo, you pull up and you got this thing, boy, you look like a boss, man. You look like a boss. This thing is hardcore. You can see me, peace, holding the GoPro. This thing is super professional. It gives you a lot more in-depth data. I wish I can get this glare out of here. Where am I? Let me see. Well, it's hard to get this glare out of there, but you can get a lot of in-depth data. It's touchscreen. It is nice. Okay, the customer just came back. He had no oil in the truck, so I didn't want to crank it. So all right, we're gonna get right back to this. So to piggyback, I'm back at my shop right now. Y'all see I'm in the slider. I got an F-150. I got in here, still got this thing, and this T-bone monstrous Scion TC that I got here. I only wanted it for that right there, for another project that I got going on. But either way, back to the ideal of the scan tool, right? So perfect example on why you may not need one. Now, I was given the pros in the last part. We're gonna go to some cons. The first con is obviously that those scan tools are not cheap. You know, this particular one is $2,500 to $3,500. It's the Solus Edge. Where'd I put that thing? Oh, there it is. Snap on, baby. Solus Edge. And it's cold, don't get me wrong, that's a cold computer. It does all types of funny functions and things that you can't do on the cheapos, but you're going to pay for that function. So depending on how much you're into the mechanic world is whether or not it's going to be applicable to your particular situation. So for instance, most of the time I don't need that big of a scan tool, but like right now that has a misfire to it, and I think I figured out the problem. I could have did it without the big badass scan tool, but it made life a lot easier because I did have it. Now this thing, for instance, I got this from a customer that long story short told me that it was doing a whole lot of things that I got it, and it was not doing any of those things. It didn't even run or drive, and come to find out it has a blown head gasket, as I think I put in one of the other videos. I don't know if I posted it just yet, but long story short, that thing got a blown head gasket. I'm waiting for the title so we can go to the scrapyard. But I did not use the, you know, $2,000 to $5,000 scan tool to figure that out. It was common know-how, some other testing, which most of the methods that I use did not constitute using, like I say again, the big badass nice scan tool. It was unnecessary for it. So the cost is the first thing. The second thing is, like I say, depending on your mechanical ability, it don't even matter if you have the big nice scan tool, because most of the time it's so much data that you can pull from it. Unless you like, it's just a shout out to Scanner Danner. He don't know me, I don't know him, but I've watched a lot of his videos when I've tried to diagnose things that I had no idea. And even though I got a good background on the electrical part of things, be honest with y'all, there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. So you look at somebody like Scanner Danner, who goes into every bit of every millisecond of every pulse of every signal of every sensor inside of the car. That's not for you, man. Honestly, I just tell you, take it somebody else, because I am not gonna do it. Most people don't want to pay for those types of services, at least on the independent shop scale. At least in my area is what I found. There are people who will, and if it came down to it, we'll pull out the books, we'll open up all data, we'll get all the information. But I don't know, man, probably 7 times out of 10 for the customers that I get, my customer base, and the people who come to my location or give me a call, they're not looking for that in depth, and even if they are, it usually doesn't require that in depth of research to figure out what's going on, if you know how to use other various cheaper tools, i.e. multimeter, compression tester, radiator tester. But for the most part, a lot of things that most people do is just basically glorify parts changers, and you know, that's cool, because in a lot of ways it's kind of what I do. I will diagnose, and I do diagnose. That's where the big nice computer comes in. But you're looking at $100 a service hour to do a diagnosis like that. Most people don't want to pay that, and other people who do say, well, I'll just take it to the dealership because we thought it'd be cheaper to go through you. And I say, no bueno, I'm not doing that. So cost of the big nice scan tool is very expensive, but it does do what it does. Number 2 con is that most of the time you're not gonna need any of that stuff that scan tool has to offer. And number 3 is that even if you do have the scan tool, even if you do find yourself in situations where you need to use it, there's gonna be more times out of not that you don't know how, if you're not very seasoned in it and play with it a lot, to find out exactly how to use this damn thing. Like, you're gonna have to go to some type of course, training course, seriously, to know how to use it, because it's just so much stuff in there. You know, it's computers talking to computers, and signals talking to, log boards, it's a whole lot. So cost, effectiveness, and the third thing would be just the knowledge of how to know how to use it. I guess I could have broke that down without spending 5 minutes explaining it, so I'll probably cut that part out. But like I say, on the pro side, you look like a boss when you pull up. Well, you pull up and you got that scan tool, people look at you and be like, oh, big money, big money. Hold on one second, cousin calling. All right, so the pros, man, the pros, when you pull up, man, you pull up, let me show you this thing. Let's look at this thing one more time. This ain't mine, it's my homies. But you pull up and you go and you put your hands out like this and you show this and they be like, uh-oh, hey. And they straight up be like, man, that's a boss move. And it's like, yeah, man, hey, I appreciate it, bro. $100 an hour just to plug it up, no less. And they'll pay. People will pay. So while it does, this will go back to a pro and a con, while it does make you look like a boss when you pull up, it also will intimidate certain people who know, and that could be discouraging for them wanting to deal with you because they know how you pull up. You know, they're gonna pay for your services. So that is one of those pros and the cons from having it. But the other pro, man, is like I say, you really can get into like anything that the computer will allow you to do. For instance, this thing, I got this misfire. I'm pretty sure I figured it out, but I haven't got the parts to put it in yet. But one of the things I was trying to do was check the injector pulse, and I can get an over reading of it, but for whatever reason it would not let me look at the individual cylinders injector pulse. But if the computer doesn't register it like that for whatever reason, which I know it does, but for whatever reason I could not get it to get in there, then you know, you kind of up the creek. For my expedition, I plugged it in just to see what it was what it was doing, and there was certain functions in it that I couldn't access either. I don't know if it was because it was locked by the factory or if it just didn't have the capabilities of doing it, or I just didn't know how to get to it, because like I said, that's a very real thing to just know how to use it. Yeah, it can go a lot of different ways. So at the end of the day, that's pretty much what it comes down to. And you know, you kind of got to decide for yourself. Do you want to spend 25 G's or 25 G's, 2.5 G's on a computer? Are you going to use that computer? Do you have a market? Are you really into the mechanic stuff like that to where you're going to do it? Or can you just skimp by on knowing how to go around all that? And you know, you might use, instead of using the injector pulse reading on a computer, for instance, you use a Noid light. Do you have a Noid light? Well, you can go rent one for like 50 bucks and then take it back. So you don't have to necessarily spend the big bucks, is what I'm saying. You can get around doing other things. We're getting ready to do some burnouts in this thing because this crashed. I only want the motor and the trans anyway, and this thing is gangster. Oh. So yeah, that's my so yeah, that's my tidbit on, is it worth it getting, you know, $25,000, $5,000, $10,000. This dude about to blow my whole thing. You know what though, I'll back up and I'll do it. But computer, is it worth it? Only you can decide that. So I can't tell you that it actually is or it is not. All I can tell you is that you will be way more presentable when you pull up with it, but you're gonna pay for that presentability. So I hope you guys found this informational and entertaining. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, mi gente, like I always say, be pro mundo beneficio siempre. Peace.